I understand it. Trey Ford played football at the University of Waterloo. Okay, in the last 50 years, the number of U Sport quarterbacks who have been handed the keys to an offense, like not as a fill-in duty, but like you're our guy out of the gate, number one. He's it. Like there's nobody else. So he's trying to do something that isn't done very often. He's again an athletically freakish player who can make Lamar Jackson type plays at times, but he also can mess up simple plays, and that's been the variance that people have seen in Trey Ford. And I think there is a discussion in Edmonton about looking at sort of what is his first 5 games of the season been. It was a big step backwards against BC. They got to win. I mean, you can't rebuild a fan base once you get to 1-6 or 1-7. You're talking about next year. So that's one conversation I think is being had, and the other is the defense. I mean, they went out and spent in relative terms, a boatload on their defense, and particularly the front 6 or 7. And they have given up the most points per game this season. They've given up the most yards per game this season, and they've given up the most passing yards this season. When you go out and spend the kind of money, I mean, they got a couple of defensive linemen that are making in excess of $250,000, which in CFL money is a lot for a defensive player, and it's just not getting it done. And I don't think that makes the assignment for Trey Ford any easier, because as a young quarterback, you don't want to put him in a position where you're chasing scores in the second half, and that's where they've been, most of the time.
With Dave Naylor, our TSN CFL NFL reporter and insider. Week 7 of the CFL beginning tonight. Argos in Montreal playing the Alouettes. So a big story that you broke this week. Sean Lemon has been reinstated by the CFL. Stuart Johnston, of course, the new commissioner of the CFL. And Lemon, famously was suspended indefinitely last April for wagering on CFL games. And he's not a young guy. He's, I believe, 36. He's a free agent now. So what does this mean now that he's been reinstated? Are you surprised at all that, what seemed like a lifetime ban actually was about 15, 16 months? And what kind of market is going to be out there for him?
Yeah, I would say when a soon-to-be 36-year-old defensive lineman gets suspended indefinitely, that's probably the end of his career. I would have told you that at the time. And, I think part of it was, he appealed his suspension, right? And the basis of his appeal, I believe, was essentially, I didn't know you couldn't do that. And
I didn't know you couldn't do that. Was that wrong? Was that wrong, me wagering on games?
or nobody formally told me you can't do that. That was essentially his argument, right?
What a case.
And he went and got independent representation for that. The CFLPA did not represent him in his appeal, which is pretty unusual for a guy to go outside the union and make that argument. So, look, I know the league office was not happy that he appealed, and maybe the fact that there's a new commissioner made this more possible. I think there was also a more contrite version of Sean Lemon in this case, taking counseling, accepting counseling, not talking about the arguments that he made, a year ago. But he lives in Montreal year-round. From my understanding, the Alouettes lobbied on his behalf in the background here. And they do have a degree of interest. I'm kind of surprised they haven't signed him, or they got a little while before we get to kickoff, because here's the other element of the story. He has a 2-game suspension for testing positive for banned substance. So once he does get
no one told him that was illegal. No, to be fair to Sean, he wasn't aware that he couldn't do that.
Anyway, if they sign him in about the next hour, I think they can work off one of his 2-game suspensions tonight.
Right.
But he'll be on the practice roster a few weeks anyway. But look, I think it comes down to precedent, right? If you look at other leagues, he didn't bet against his team. He bet on his team. It was, I think, one parlay ticket where he played like a Hamilton Tiger Cat money line and a Calgary Stampeder +6 for like $100 Canadian on an offshore. So it wasn't like he wasn't throwing games. He didn't have 10 grand on the game. You still can't do it.
Right.
But ultimately, the league didn't decide it was worth a lifetime ban.
Okay, and listen, this is sticky. Like the integrity of the sport stuff is sticky because everyone's in bed with gambling. Gambling's legal now, at least in the province of Ontario, and I think we all know it's going to be a ripple effect throughout the country at some point, and it certainly is down in the States. So it's a very different world than it used to be. Yet I think if anything, more than ever, you probably have to be that much more diligent, right, Dave? Because now, people that aren't gambling are really looking at this, wondering what's going on in the sports world. right? Like it's a different complexion today than it was 10 years ago.
Well, absolutely. And to that point about diligence, and listen, this is a real mystery around the CFL. I've had people from teams call me and say, do you know how they caught him? And I mean, like, not to tell me, but to ask me. Because here's the thing. Sean Lemon placed that bet with an offshore,
right? Not
with a licensed book. Right? So you would think, okay, you know, if I find a book somewhere in Asia and place a parlay ticket on or Europe, and because I believe the currency that he bet in was euros. So it would have been in Europe somewhere. He bet one parlay ticket on a Tie-Cat and a stamp game, and the league found it. That's what's incredible to me, is that the league found that. And
you got to bet in crypto now. You got to hide it in crypto, Dave.
Well, like somebody from the team called me and said, like, do you know how they did it? Because I want to know, because I want to scare our young players by telling them, like, hey, don't try this, because you know, never mind, you know, betting on FanDuel or you know, one of the partners or one of the well-known licensed books. But even if you go to Europe on an unlicensed book, obviously they can find it. I have no idea how they did it, but I think that tells you there is a level of diligence that the league was able to find that.
Big time. Yeah, that is very interesting. And yet, you know, Sean Lemon, he's on his way back. He's got to serve one more other suspension. That'll get out of the way. You know,
102 career sacks, man. That's and like the last time he was on the field for the first 4 weeks of last season during the appeal, you know, he had a presence. He was getting to the quarterback. So I expect he will be an Alouette very soon.
Okay. Yeah, pass rushing, man. Yeah, everyone's got to have it. You got to have it. Yeah. All right, Dave. Great catching up with you, man. Appreciate you doing this.
Hey, awesome, guys. Take care. See ya.
There's Dave Naylor, our CFL insider. CFL on TSN continuing tonight, Week 7, Argos, Alouettes. And I love that defense. Hey, no one technically told me I can't do that.
Come on. Yeah, was that wrong?
Yeah, was I not supposed to do
I have
that?
to plead ignorance on this.
I have to. I mean, sorry, no one said it directly to me that I'm not allowed to do that. What a case.
Has you heard of Pete Rose?
Yeah.
Like, has you ever heard of Pete Rose?
Maybe he hasn't.
At some point, it feels not very real. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I guess so. But if you're going offshore and betting in euros, don't you kind of know you're not supposed to do it?
Well, that's
or else you would just do it on FanDuel.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, you go down, you know, if you're on FanDuel, you're going down to play a pro line ticket or something like that. That's
you're
different.
calling Klaus in Germany saying throw 5 hunch on the Argos tonight.
Yes, exactly.
But it's like, do you I shouldn't go to a Coldplay concert and be cuddling my mistress during whatever fix.
No one told him he wasn't supposed to do that, Stroh.
Is that not okay? Is that not
evidently
right?
Imagine the conversations they would have been having. Like, fix you. They're going to play fix you, and I'm going to have my arms wrapped around you, and it's going to be great.
That's our song. That's our song.
That's our song. That's the affair song. Everyone knows that. You're having an affair. That's the song that everyone loves.
Oh, could you imagine that feeling in your stomach when that camera flashes on you?
The second it went on, you could see him just squirm.
Yeah.
Like the Coldplay guy, he just starts squirming. And now it's just blown up. Like the guy's backstory, the woman's backstory, what's going on with the